my name is Donna. Welcome to my kitchen. Today we are making cinnamon buns. You might go, no I can't, I'll just buy them. But I'm going to walk you through this very straightforward, easy recipe for cinnamon buns. This recipe comes to us from Serious Eats, and it's a Stella Parks recipe, and it is fantastic. So let's get cooking. Really great about this recipe is it's also a make ahead. So today on day one we are going to make our dough and we're going to form our cinnamon rolls and have them do the second rest in the fridge overnight. In fact, you can even do it 48 hours in advance. So it's a super make ahead for planning. Make the dough when it's convenient and bake when you're ready to eat, because you can eat these right out of the oven. So as always, we're going to pull out our ingredients. Now I'm going to pull out all the ingredients for each of the frosting, filling, and dough, but we will sort of go through them separately. But we always want to make sure we have everything before we get started. You're going to need cream cheese, and you're going to laugh at this, but I had this in my freezer, and you need 4 ounces, and I had exactly 4 ounces. I knew I was going to need it, so I froze it because it was going to possibly go bad in my fridge. Though, as you know, I believe it lasts forever. And so I've just defrosted it, and it's kind of a mess, but you need softened cream cheese. We're going to need vanilla extract. We're going to need powdered sugar or icing sugar or confectioner's sugar. They all are the same thing. So that's it for the frosting. So let's go on to the filling. We're going to need some butter. Unsalted is called for, but I always sub in whatever I have. You'll notice I've got some leftovers because I know I'm going to need some more butter for the dough. We're going to need brown sugar. We're going to need cinnamon. There are cinnamon buns. Now the recipe calls for grating nutmeg, and I'm going to do that because I have nutmeg. If you don't have that, you can just use the regular stuff that you buy already pre-grated. But what you will know that if you buy these little pods of nutmeg, I guess that's what they're called, and you grate them, they last forever. So you just buy them once, you have them forever, and you use a microplane to grate them. So I'll be doing that today, but again, you can sub in the already grated stuff. And the last thing that we need for the filling is kosher salt. Now let's pull out everything for the dough. We need all-purpose flour. We'll need granulated sugar. We're going to need baking soda, and we'll need unsalted butter, which I've already pulled out for the filling. We're going to need some milk, and any percentage milk will work. And we'll need Greek yogurt, and again, any percentage will do. And that's what I love about Stella's recipes. She really is flexible and lets you know when you need something and when you can sub in. I forgot to mention one of the ingredients that when I was pulling everything back over, yeast. This is yeasted cinnamon buns. You want to make sure your yeast is fresh. Now what does that mean? There's usually an expiration date on it. If you don't use a lot of yeast, you can buy just the little packages, or you can buy it like this if you use a lot. If you've had yeast for a long time in your cupboard, you don't know when you bought it, I'm sorry, but you need to go and get fresh stuff. And finally, the last item I'm not using, it's got toasted nuts. Yuck, who wants that in your cinnamon buns? But you like it, you do it, but yuck. Anyways, and besides, these are going to be for my dad for Father's Day, and he can't take nuts, so yay, I can eat them. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to move out each of the groups of ingredients to make a little room here, but I just want to make sure I have everything before I get started and avoid any disappointment. Okay, we're going to start with the frosting. So we'll get our tools out for our frosting. But what's great is you can see the frosting's only 3 ingredients, so it's fantastic. So I'm going to get my scale. And I pulled out my electric mixer. That's what the recipe calls for, and it really is ideal for this recipe. For the filling and the icing, we will use the paddle attachment, and for the dough, we will use the dough attachment. Now, if you don't have a stand mixer, then you could use an electric mixer to make the frosting and the filling, but you'll have to make the dough by hand. But all doable. But if you have this, it makes life easy. And we'll need our spatula, and we will be putting the frosting in a Ziploc bag to hold and use it for piping later. I think we're all ready to go. Let's get started. The one great thing also about Stella's recipes is that she gives you both the measure with cups, but she also gives us the grams, so we're all ready to go. We need 115 grams of softened cream cheese. I forgot that we'll need a 1 teaspoon measure for our vanilla, so it is 2 teaspoons of vanilla extract. So Stella has us start with half our icing sugar to get started. So it calls for 141 grams, so I'll put in 70 grams to start. So I put in slightly more, so I just need to remember, you just need to remember how much you put in. It doesn't matter as long as you only get to 141 by the end. Now start slow. Icing sugar, it's messy, it'll poof, so start slow and then you can turn it up and beat it. Okay, let's scrape down our sides. Now the recipe tells us to put the rest of our sugar in slowly, but honestly I just don't do that, so I got to show you the way I really do it. So now put in the other, quote, half. Mine might be different. Just remember to put it in a pile in case you overfill it so you can scoop it out. Okay. Again, start slow so you don't get a poof, and then we'll speed it up until it's very well incorporated. Stop and scrape down one final time and then give it one quick last blast. So that's our cream cheese frosting that now we're going to transfer to our plastic bag. If you fold it over like this, you're less likely to have a mess. Now that it's in our bag, I'm just going to close it up. Now, you just hold this. We're not going to be baking our cinnamon buns until tomorrow because this is an overnight recipe. So this can keep at room temperature for 24 hours, probably even more. And so the beauty of this recipe is we just use our paddle and our bowl and carry on with our filling. So for our filling, we are going to need 115 grams of, it calls for unsalted butter. I'm not even sure what this is. Salted butter, so I'm using salted butter. So I've just pulled over the other ingredients for our filling so we don't forget anything. Now we need 170 grams of sugar, brown sugar. And we need 15 grams of cinnamon. The recipe calls for half a teaspoon of grated nutmeg. I'm just gonna eyeball it because this is to your taste anyways. But of course, if you've got pre-grated, you can measure that out. Fresh grated smells so good. And a 1/4 teaspoon of kosher salt, which I'm just going to do a giant pinch. So now all we do is we are going to start slow again, and then we'll turn it up to a beating, and we will beat it for 5 minutes until it is super creamy. And that's it for the filling. It will have lightened a lot in color and will look very fluffy. So we're just going to put this into a Ziploc bag as well. We will keep this at room temperature until we need it. And we're going to use the same bowl. So take a paper towel. So I'm just grabbing a paper towel and I'm just going to wipe it out. It does not have to be perfectly clean. You just don't want any big amounts of the filling left over. though I don't know, maybe it won't turn out good. So let me move all my ingredients over for the dough. Okay, now let's pull out our tools that we're going to need for the dough portion. We've got our mixing bowl. We already have our dough hook. We've still got our scale. We're going to need a 1 teaspoon and a 1/4 teaspoon measure. We're going to need a medium saucepan, and I'll just put this over to the stove for a second. And we're going to need a whisk. I think that's it. We're ready to go. Okay, we start with 450 grams of all-purpose flour. We'll need 100 grams of granulated sugar. We need 2 teaspoons of our yeast. We need 1 3/4 teaspoon of our kosher salt. I'm gonna eyeball this. I actually have a 3/4 teaspoon measure, but I think most people don't, and I'm just gonna eyeball it. So there we go, it'll be fine. And a 1/4 teaspoon of our baking soda. And we just need to whisk this all together. Just takes a few seconds. Now I didn't put my flour away because I'm going to need it later after the first rising, but you can put it away if you need to have it out of your way in your kitchen and just pull it out. But no, we're gonna need our flour again. Okay, that was super quick. And now grab your medium saucepan, and we need 115 grams of butter. Now we're just going to take this over to our stove, and we're going to melt it at a low temperature. In the meantime, I've grabbed a 1 cup measure because I realize you're probably not going to want to take a hot pot on to weigh the next ingredients, and I don't know if I want to do that either. So I'm going to deviate and do it this way. So I'm going to pour out, while that's melting, I'm going to pour out my 1/2 cup of milk. So we'll use our whisk over for the melting of the butter and stirring in of our milk and our yogurt. So to our melted butter, we're going to add our 1/2 cup of milk and a cup of our yogurt. And it's this cup of unsweetened plain Greek yogurt. Any percentage of fat will work. And it says about, so I just eyeball it. And then we want to whisk this and bring it up to 80 degrees Fahrenheit. Now, I have this thermometer, and my house is currently at 78 degrees. So that gives you a bit of an idea. If you don't have one, you want it just slightly above your room temperature, if you know what your room temperature is. I'm just gonna try it out, and it's already showing over that. So I'm going to turn this off. So see, it doesn't take long at all. Okay, so now we just add this to our flour mixture. Okay, use your spatula and just stir it around until it starts to get a bit shaggy. This is what shaggy looks like. And then we'll just put it onto our stand mixer and attach our dough hook. And now what we want to do is we want to knead it on low for 20 minutes. So I'll see you in 20 minutes. Let's look at our dough. And it is silky smooth and stretches out very nicely without tearing, and that is what we want. Okay, all we need to do now is we need to cover this with plastic wrap for 90 minutes. After the 90 minutes, it should be doubled in size. And so have a little look at what it looks like now so you have an idea what double looks like. If your kitchen's cold, this might take a little bit longer, and if it's very warm, it might take a bit more. It's a summer day here. It's just normal weather. It should be fine in about 90 days. It should be fine in about 90 minutes. So during that 90 minutes, you're gonna wanna pull out a couple things. You'll want to get some dental floss, and it says unflavored dental floss. I think I've done mine with mint flavored before. But anyways, pull out some dental floss. We're also gonna need our pan, and you can do it a couple of ways. You can use two 9-inch cake pans, or you can use your 9x13. In either case, we're gonna wanna have it lined with parchment. I've done both and they both work equally well. And you'll also want to pull out your rolling pin. Okay, see you in 90 minutes. Okay, we've patiently waited 90 minutes and mine is for sure doubled. Ooh, look at that. What we can do is take our plastic off, and you'll want to sprinkle your surface with a little bit of flour. So just sprinkle your surface out with a bit of flour. This to the side in case we need a little more. And then we just spread it out a bit and then turn our dough out. Oh, it's so light and fluffy, so we know that the yeast has worked. And now what we want to do is we want to roll it into a 13-inch square. Put a little bit of flour on top and a little on our rolling pin and roll it out. I'm gonna flip it over once just to make sure it doesn't stick. And just because I always keep this plastic ruler in my cooking tools, because whenever I have to measure, I don't really know what 13 inches is. So this is 13 inches there, and so just have to go out a bit much. Now, if you're like me, you're gonna find, I don't know how they get the square. I find that quite difficult. But do your best. Okay, so we're 13 there. We're a bit shy here, so we'll go further. Perfect. Now we're going to go get our filling. Now the easiest way to deal with this is to snip a corner off of this, and we just want to spread it all around. Now grab yourself a spatula or a knife, either works, and you just want to spread this out. So anything that you have that can spread, just spread it out. Now, if you were one of those pecan people, sprinkle your pecans over. And now what we're going to do is we are going to roll it into a log. And you want to pull it a little bit towards yourself as you do this, because you want it to be tight. So just kind of pull it, pull it, pull it. Pull it, pull it, pull it. Now I'm going to push it in a bit because it kind of goes wide every time. Now let me walk it over here closer to me. So this is where the dental floss comes in. So get yourself about an 8-inch piece. So go to the middle, and what you do is you just pull it across and then go good. If you don't have dental floss, or you only have Tutti Frutti and you don't want to use that, then a knife will work as well. This is just really sharp and doesn't squish the dough too much. Now what we want to do is we now want to cut each of these into 6 pieces, so we'll have 12 altogether. That's it, we basically made them. Go ahead and grab your pan that you've chosen to use. I've got my 9x13, and we're going to put these in. Okay, and now we cover this with foil and put it in the fridge overnight. We're actually going to cook it with the foil on, so don't use plastic, actually use foil for this. Okay, off to the fridge, and we will see you tomorrow. Okay, did you get a good night's sleep? I hope so. I did. Okay, when we're ready to bake, what we want to do first is pull our cinnamon buns out of the fridge. So here are mine. Let's have a sneak peek. We're going to put the foil back on, but I can't help myself. I want to have a look. Ooh, don't they look nice and puffy? Ooh, super good. Okay, so put that foil back on nicely. And you want to keep this at room temperature while we preheat our oven. We're going to preheat our oven to 350 degrees Fahrenheit and make sure the rack is in the middle position. Okay, our oven is preheated and we keep the foil on, and we're going to bake this for a total of an hour. We're going to bake it for 45 minutes with the foil on and then take the foil off for the last 15. But we want to check it after 30 minutes just to see how it's going. So we'll see you in 30 minutes. Okay, for most of us, we're just going to have a peek at the 30-minute mark. So let's have a little look. Oh, it's smelling good here. Be careful, it's hot, but we'll have a look. What you want is to make sure they're not over browning or overcooking, which can happen with a darker pan, but I don't have that. These are just looking good. So I'm gonna tighten this foil back up for another 15 minutes and we will see you then. Okay, it's been the 45 minutes, so we're just gonna pull the foil off and cook it for another 15 minutes. Keep an eye on it. You don't want these to burn, but you want them to be fully cooked. Okay, there we go. And let's have a look. Oh, these look great. Look at that. Perfectly browned. On to our next step. So we pull these right out of our oven, and then you want to grab our frosting right away. You want to do this when it's still hot. Now the timing on your cinnamon buns, you've got to keep an eye on them because every oven is different and every pan and every thickness that you made these. So keep an eye on these. You don't want them to burn and just follow the recipe instructions. You need to check them out. Anyways, mine were at the perfect time. And now what we're gonna do is we're just gonna squeeze this frosting all over these hot cinnamon buns. That's what's great. At this point, there is no waiting. As soon as we do this, we're ready to eat. Get every little bit out of there and grab some little knife that will work. Just spread it out, anything you've got, and work quickly here, but it's okay. Oh, look at how good those are. Dad's gonna love these for Father's Day. The pan's hot, just be careful, but look at those. Of course, now we have to dive in and taste. Oh, which one to have? Who knows? Okay. These are best right this second. They're next best throughout today. If you have to keep them overnight, my suggestion is you just microwave them for just like 9 seconds just to warm them up if you're having them the next day. And they're excellent. So now let's give this a taste. Look at that. Does that look good? These are so good. And what's excellent is you've got your cream cheese frosting on top. Look underneath. Caramel. Oh, goodness. Oh my God, so good. It's perfectly cooked. It's so pillowy, soft, and yummy. Anyways, I'm gonna keep eating. I hope I've shown you how easy it is to have homemade cinnamon buns. I hope you try these. If you have any questions, just put it in the comments. I hope you make this recipe. Until next time, keep cooking.